This is the introduction to Aquarius on Music Has a Right to Children, one of Boards of Canada's most famous CDs. And it's just got this incredible, wobbly, nostalgic feeling to it. It doesn't sound like a synthesizer at all, right? It sounds ethereal and vintage. And I've been working over the last couple of weeks to really try to figure out how that sound was created and try to do something similar in my studio here. So I want to share with you sort of where I am on this process. First place to start is, what are they actually playing? What are these notes that we're hearing? It's a kind of a weird thing. I think they probably did a lot of playing around on the black keys to sort of get at this, but it's an F minor. Sorry, it's a little loud there. It's an F minor that is essentially then that's followed by an E flat minor, back to the F minor, maybe a seventh, I can't quite tell, and then it seems like it's just a B octave. Alright, so I actually have a nice voicing of those chords here on this MIDI track. So now how do we actually create the sound? And there's actually two pieces of the sound that we need to get right. One is the synthesizer itself, and the second is this echoing effect that makes the sound so characteristic. So let's do the first thing. I'm going to pop open Diva. I'm starting from the Jupy 8, which is, I guess, the Jupiter 8 emulation preset. So it's pretty much a blank slate. And I think the sound is pretty much exactly just one sawtooth. So if I just configure this, I'm just listening to one sawtooth here. And the key thing about the sound is the way that it opens. It goes wow, wow, like that. So we need a kind of a nice chordy kind of pad style envelope for the volume to match that. So if I add this curve a little bit and add a little bit of build, at the basis of a nice pad there, right? Now, how do I make the envelope open up, the filter open up a little bit? Because what I really wanted to do is I wanted to start sounding like this, and then to open up in the course of, as the note continues to play out. So the way we do that is with these modifiers, or essentially modulators. I'm going to set the cutoff where I want it to start, which is around here. And then I'm going to basically turn up the amount of envelope 2 modulation. This is envelope 2 here. And I'll just set it to some, placeholder value. And then what I want the envelope 2 to do is I want it to take its time kind of building up to being as open as it is in the, as the volume envelope. Still a little too long. So now you can hear it there. I think the right value is somewhere around here. And what's happening when I adjust the release is basically how much the filter starts closing again once I let up on the notes, and I don't think you want it to do that very much. Now the second thing is there's a little bit of resonance. You can hear it kick in you can hear it kick in a little bit when the filter opens. Meow, like that meow kind of little noise there. Now, one thing I want to show you is that we still haven't gotten the basic sound right for a couple reasons. One, modulation, but the second is that the EQ is actually way off. So what I've done actually is, let me just quickly disable the EQ so you can hear the difference. This is what it's sounding like right now. And I added an EQ pattern which effectively drops down here. And the way I got at this is that if you listen to the original, I'll just click over here very quickly, you can see that basically the original sound is occurring in this range of, say, 150 to 200 to 2.5 kHz. And so I want mine to do the same thing, and you can see here that that without the filter, there's a lot more going on the bottom. So to bring that out, I'm basically going to do a couple of things. Let me show you that in flat. I'm going to first use this pre-filter, which lets me kind of thin out the sound on Diva's side and make it a little bit less prevalent at the lower registers. But that actually isn't enough. It gets too thin if you drive it too high. So I think that I'm actually going to do, and what they probably did was they just EQ'd it down. There we go. So now we've got that wow sound. It's opening up very nicely, but it's still not wobbly enough. Some of the wobble is coming from the filter modulating a little bit, and some of the wobble is coming from the volume and tremolo, and kind of the tone shifting. So let's get those effects here in Diva. The first is I want to further modulate the cutoff with LFO2, so that essentially there's a little bit of wobble in once the filter is open, and you can hear what this sounds like. So right around there, I think, is probably right for this. And I think it's a little faster. It's a little hard to tell. Let's go back and hear the original. And then mine. I think I've got dialed in a little bit too much. It's a very subtle effect. Another thing is I want to start LFO1 adding some vibrato. Now, one of the things about Diva is that it normally is set to only incorporate as much vibrato as the mod wheel indicates. So I actually want to dial that back, and so when you set it to 50, now suddenly it doesn't matter what the mod wheel is, we're always going to have the vibrato. So that's without any vibrato. I start dialing in some. I think around there is probably pretty good. Kind of adds that nice little wobbliness to it. And the final thing that's going on is that there's a lot that's out of tune in the original that you can hear. Diva has this kind of nice emulation of the old analog synthesizers that had a lot of differences in the voices. And you can see here that for every voice that gets played, it's showing you what some of the offsets might be for that particular voice. So what I'm going to do is, that is all controlled through the detune and voice drift, and I think that you need a lot of it to get their sound. I'm basically going to dial both of these up a lot. There we go. One final thing that is going to be important is that these LFOs right now are modulating on the gate, meaning that if I start a note and start the second one later, they're both going to be modulated with that wow wow noise on their own, basically on their own timeline. What I want is one single opening and closing filter for any note that I'm playing. Fortunately, Diva gives you a way of doing that, so I actually want both my vibrato and my filter to basically be what they call single, which means that there's only one of these running at all times, and anything that comes through, any voices that play are going to have the same setting applied to them. So here now you can hear the difference. Alright, so let's do before and after. That's mine, and let's hear theirs. So at this point, I don't think I've nailed their sound 100%, but I've gotten pretty close. But the next thing that I want to work on is the echoing effect. There are two quick ways we can do this. One is we can just use the chorus, and this is a feature inside Diva that's basically a post-processor. And I've never got it to match exactly right this way, but it's not a bad effect. I think I have to set it to ensemble. So that works reasonably well. We're getting that kind of echoing effect. I think the way you really kill this one, though, is essentially if you use a different tool. And what I've chosen to do here is actually use something called Satin, which is another plugin by the folks who make Diva. And I'll show you how I have it set up here on this track. That's the bass, and then I'm going to add Satin. So the settings I used in Satin are interesting. What I've done is I've essentially used their standard chorus, their standard ensemble, which is this one. It's Bronto Scorpio's ensemble, which just kind of sounds nice. But it has a little too much wobble, so I brought down the mod rates a little bit. And then the second thing that's pretty clear is that there's a lot of wow and flutter. So I'm basically going to do all the things that I showed in some of my earlier tutorials, and I'm going to reduce the headroom, drive the tape more into saturation, which is a big piece of what Chords of Canada would do, and I'm going to add a ton of wow and flutter. Alright, so let's compare that with the original. Not too bad. So anyway, that's where I am right now. I hope this has been helpful in learning how you can use some of these great tools to try to recreate some of that old sound and kind of make things sound more analog or real or whatever it is that the Boards of Canada have figured out how to do. Hope this was helpful.